folks, Scott here from Country Roads Fly. Thanks for joining me here at the bench for another edition of Wrap by Wrap. Today I'm going to be covering peacock quill bodies. Peacock quills make nice fly bodies because they have a light edge and a dark edge to them. Hopefully you can see that here. And because of this, when wrapped properly, they can give the appearance of a segmented fly body, much like that of what you would find on the natural. So I've got a fly started here and I'm about ready to tie in and wrap the quill body. As you can see, I've got the wings of the fly established, and I've also secured a bundled fiber tail using just 2 wraps of thread. So the thread is positioned 2 wraps in front of the tailing point. Also note that I've not yet trimmed the butt ends of the tailing material. I'm going to leave those in place for now. So as I prepare to mount the stripped peacock quill to the hook shank, I'm going to angle it rearward at about 45 degrees before securing it to the shank with a single wrap of thread. On top of the hook shank, like so. You want to make sure that you're mounting the peacock quill at the narrow end of the quill. Peacock quills are narrow at one end and then they widen as you approach the other end of the quill. But it's also important to make sure that the quill at the mounting point is not too thin. These peacock quills are pretty delicate, and if the quill is too thin in this area where you've mounted it to the shank, it could snap when you start to wrap the quill around the hook shank. Also note, with the quill mounted to the top of the hook shank, the dark edge of the quill is on the far side of the quill. So as I wrap, that will be my leading edge. So with the quill secured to the hook shank, using just a single wrap of thread at this point, I'm going to flatten my thread by spinning the bobbin counterclockwise, looking down on the bobbin. Before I start to take some wraps forward to secure the quill and the butts of the tailing fibers to the hook shank. And the goal here is to make a smooth underbody. Any imperfections in the underbody will be amplified by the quill body when you wrap it. So you want to make sure you take the time here and create a smooth underbody, tapered if you wish. Build up a bit of a taper. But the key here is to make this as smooth as possible. And once I'm happy with the underbody, I'm going to stop the thread at the quill tie-off point just before the thorax, and I'm going to clip off any remaining tailing material butts at this point. Just taking one last look at my taper to make sure I'm happy with that. And looks like we're in good shape. So to wrap the body, I'm going to begin by attaching my hackle pliers. Now you can certainly do this with just your fingers, but you'll need to make sure you maintain a consistent tension on the quill as you wrap, and I find that hackle pliers help with that. So my first wrap of the quill is actually going to be slightly rearward. And that's because I want to make sure that I cover the final wrap that I made at the tailing point to secure the tailing material. So once you make sure you've got that covered, you can start your wraps forward. And you want to take adjacent contiguous wraps going forward. You don't want to overlap the quill. Just make sure that each wrap butts up against the previous wrap without overlapping. Make sure the tailing edge of your current wrap doesn't overlap the leading edge that dark edge of your previous wrap so that you get that nice segmentation effect. As you can see, the quill widens as you approach the eye of the hook, making the segments wider, much like what you'd see on the natural. And once I've reached the tie-off point where the thread is currently, I can maintain tension on the quill with the hackle pliers of my right hand while taking the bobbin in my left, and make a couple wraps of thread to secure the quill to the hook shank. And clip off the remaining butt end of quill. So after you've completed a peacock quill bodied fly, to give it some additional durability, because like I mentioned, this is pretty delicate material, it's a good idea to run some head cement or some UV resin, just a thin layer over the body itself. So that's about all there is to creating peacock quill bodies. I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll see you next time on Wrap by Wrap. Thanks for watching.